Hello everybody and welcome back to the Matura Express. My name is Timna from the English team, and if you've ever wondered about what to expect in an oral exam, then today is your day, because that's exactly what we're talking about today. Okay, maybe we'll just jump right in. Yeah, perfect. Okay. So, what to expect in an oral exam? Today we're going to talk about exam structure, assessment criteria, and using preparation time effectively. So our content today will be, at first we're looking at the oral exam structure. What is the oral exam? What does the oral exam consist of? And what do you have to do in each part? What kind of assessment criteria are there? How are the people going to grade you, basically? Or what does your grade, is your grade made out of? Then we're going to look at how to use preparation time effectively. So what to do for each task, how to prepare and make the most of your time. And that's what I'm going to show you in the last point as well. I'm going to give you an example of how to use preparation time effectively in the demo exam with the topic, the impact of modern media on young people. So let's start. Right now we're going to talk about oral exam structure. So the oral exam consists of 4 different points or 4 different parts. The first part is the introduction, and in the introduction it says you will be asked some questions about your career, future plans, etc. And one second, can I go back? Yeah. And that's basically where you tell the examination board about who you are, how old you are, what you do for a living, what are your future plans, what do you want to do in 5 years, why do you want to do the English exam, or why do you want to do the Matura in general. So that's basically an introduction of yourself, and then you move on to task 1. In task 1, task 1 is a monologue, so you have a special role, and in that role you're holding a monologue, so you are speaking alone for about 3 to 4 minutes. And in task 1 on your paper you will have a heading, so a topic for your task, then you will have a situation where your role is described in detail, so you will know exactly who you are in the exam or in this task and what you're talking about, what your task is basically. And then, of course, your task is described. And here you can see what exactly you have to include in your monologue. There are usually 3 points that you have to talk about, but you can also talk about more facts or more details that you can think of. But it's really important that you do include those 3 points, especially. Now, if you have then finished your task 1, you will move on to task 2, where you stay in the same role, but now you are having a dialogue, so you're speaking with your examiner, who also has a role. And this conversation should also be about 3 to 4 minutes long. In task 2, again, you will have a heading that says what the task is about, and then you will have a small description where usually the topic of your discussion is described, and it also tells you that you have an input text that you can read and that you can take information out of, but you also have to put in your own ideas. Now, after that dialogue, where it's especially important also that you ask questions and that it's really like a conversation. That can't really be like the examiner asks you a question and you just answer, but it really should be a two-way thing. I know that can be quite difficult in an exam situation, but you could at least try asking 1 or 2 questions yourself. Then you move on, you're basically finished then. You move on to the follow-up discussion. So here it will say on your paper, after the role play, take an active part in a short discussion about the topic XYZ, whatever topic it is. Today it will be media, with your examiners. They're going to ask you some questions and you should ask them some questions too. So that's basically a continuation of task 2, but it's not so strict anymore. You're just really putting a nice end to the whole exam and just answering a few last questions. These could also be a bit more personal, like what do you think about the topic, how do you feel, and so on and so forth. And that's really what the exam consists of. Those are the 4 parts. And now I will show you, or I will talk to you about the assessment criteria that are going to go into the grading of your exam. So, there are 5 different assessment criteria, which I will show you in detail in a second. And you have to get a minimum of a grade 4 in all of the 5 criteria. So if you have a 5 in one of the criteria, then you can't pass, basically. And this grade is decided by the examination board, which is the head examiner and the co-examiner. Now, let me show you exactly. There are 4 criteria, and I will just talk to you about them in German, because they're here in German as well. Also, es gibt hier 4 verschiedene Kriterien in diesem Beurteilungsschema. Das erste Kriterium ist das Kommunikationsverhalten. Hier steht situationsbezogen und rollengerecht, Erfüllung des Handlungsauftrages, flüssige Argumentation und spontanes Reagieren. Das geht jetzt also darum, wie ihr reagiert, wie ihr euch verhaltet, ob ihr auch gut mit der englischen Sprache so umgehen könnt, wie ihr eben in eurer Muttersprache umgehen würdet. Um da jetzt durchzukommen, müsst ihr in eine dieser ersten 4 Kategorien fallen. Und zwar wäre das zumindestens erfüllt die kommunikativen Anforderungen in den wesentlichen Bereichen, braucht Unterstützung bei der Aufrechterhaltung des Gesprächs. Also ihr solltet zumindest alle Punkte einbringen und alle Anforderungen, die gegeben sind, erfüllen. Auch wenn ihr jetzt nicht komplett eigenständig sprechen könnt, sondern immer wieder Hilfe braucht, geht das auch noch halbwegs. Was nicht mehr geht, ist, wenn ihr die kommunikativen Anforderungen nicht erfüllt, wenn ihr also nicht monologisch sprecht oder wenn ihr dann auch im Dialog wirklich nicht mehr viel sagen könnt und das Ganze eher so eine Art, der Lehrer hilft euch irgendwie das zu bestehen und das wird so, man merkt es jedenfalls, ihr wisst, was ich meine wahrscheinlich, das ist so eine komische Situation, wenn man da irgendwie so sitzt und man weiß nicht mehr so genau was sagen und der Lehrer versucht irgendwie verzweifelt euch noch zu helfen. Also das sollte möglichst nicht passieren. Genau, kann auch mit Unterstützung das Gespräch nicht aufrechterhalten. Ihr solltet also zumindest in der Lage sein, ein bisschen selbst zu sprechen, auch wenn ihr dabei Hilfe braucht. Das wäre also was man wirklich üben könnte. Genau. Im zweiten Kriterium haben wir dann Ausdruck und Wortschatz. Da geht es also um euer Vokabular. Themen- und aufgabengerechter idiomatischer Wortschatz, große Bandbreite an Vokabular und Ausdrucksmöglichkeiten. Das ist also wirklich etwas, das man gut vorher vorbereiten kann. Ihr könnt Vokabeln lernen, Vokabeln trainieren. Es würde bestimmt auch helfen, Zeitungsartikel zu lesen, Filme auf Englisch zu schauen, um euch ein bisschen in verschiedenen allgemeinen Themen auszukennen und ein bisschen mehr Vokabular euch anzutrainieren und auch wissen, wie man das Vokabular einsetzt, in welchen Kontexten, wie das im Satz angelegt ist und so weiter. Was ihr da also mindestens erfüllen müsst, ist die sprachlichen Anforderungen in den wesentlichen Bereichen. Ihr sollt also ein bisschen gerade über das Thema da sprechen können, was ihr eben gegeben habt. Es sollte eigentlich nicht so schwer sein. Genau, dass ihr halt wirklich wenigstens ein paar Vokabeln habt und euch irgendwie ausdrucken könnt. Super ist es natürlich, wenn ihr da ganz spezifisches Vokabular parat habt und euch wirklich sehr gut in dem Thema bewegen könnt, ohne irgendwelche Probleme. Dann kommt ihr natürlich in die oberen Bereiche. Das dritte Kriterium ist Inhalt. Und zwar ist das die Erfassung von Inhalten und Zusammenhängen, sowohl im Überblick als auch im Detail. Sachkenntnis bei der Beantwortung der gestellten Fragen. Genau, also mindestens sollt ihr da die inhaltlichen Anforderungen in den wesentlichen Bereichen erfüllen, auch wenn ihr Unterstützung bei der inhaltlichen Bewältigung der Aufgaben braucht. Ihr sollt also alle Punkte, die in den Tasks jeweils angegeben sind, auch in eurem Monolog und Dialog inkludieren. Auch wenn ihr jetzt einen Teil eines Punktes oder so nicht inkludiert und euch der Examiner nochmal daran erinnern muss, ist das okay, aber ihr sollt wirklich den Großteil dieser inhaltlichen Punkte inkludieren. Deswegen ist es auch wirklich ganz wichtig, dass ihr euch die Tasks genau durchlest und euch in der Vorbereitungszeit wirklich gut überlegt, was sagt ihr zu jedem einzelnen Punkt, bevor ihr euch überlegt, was sagt ihr sonst noch so. Was also nicht mehr geht, ist, weil ihr die inhaltlichen Anforderungen nicht erfüllt und wenn ihr auch mit Unterstützung inhaltlich nicht alles bewältigen könnt, was da angegeben ist. Und das letzte Kriterium hier ist Grammatik und formale Richtigkeit. Also sicherer Gebrauch von grammatikalischen Formen und syntaktischen Strukturen, sichere und adäquate Anwendung. Da geht es also darum, dass ihr die Zeiten richtig verwendet, dass ihr die Satzstellung richtig habt und so weiter. Und das Ganze auch idiomatisch anwenden könnt. Da sollt ihr also mindestens über eine eingeschränkte Bandbreite an syntaktischen Strukturen verfügen, mehrere nicht kommunikationsstörende Fehler und beeinträchtigen die Verständlichkeit natürlich nicht. Kommunikationsstörende Fehler werden nach Hinweis vermieden. Ihr sollt also schauen, dass ihr möglichst wenig oder möglichst keine Fehler macht, die jetzt dazu führen, dass man euch nicht mehr versteht. Also wenn ihr jetzt einen kleinen grammatikalischen Fehler macht, der aber euren Satz noch verständlich lässt, dann ist es nicht ganz so schlimm. Es soll aber eben nicht so sein, dass man euch wirklich nicht mehr versteht und dass eben keiner mehr weiß, was wollt ihr jetzt eigentlich damit sagen. Ganz klar, das wäre dann eben der Punkt 5 hier oder die Note 5. Erfüllt die formalsprachlichen Anforderungen nicht, Fehler beeinträchtigen die Verständlichkeit, entscheidend und werden trotz Hinweis wiederholt. Eben also auch, wenn ihr einen Fehler macht und der Examiner weist euch auf den Fehler hin, merkt euch, dass ihr den Fehler dann im Examen nicht mehr macht. Das hilft euch auch schon. Genau, und das sind also diese 4 Kriterien, die wir da haben, aus denen sich dann eure Note zusammensetzt. Wie schon gesagt, es ist dann von dem Head Examiner und Co-Examiner wird dann das entschieden. Okay. now let's move on in English again. What we will now talk about is how to use preparation time effectively. So, what does that mean? You have 30 minutes to prepare your exam. And in these 30 minutes, you of course should be able to prepare task 1 and task 2. And yeah, just be able to do your exam without any problems. And to really help you, I will now show you how much time you should dedicate to each task and what exactly you can do to prepare. So in your preparation time, pens, paper, electronic and paper dictionaries will be there for you. And so yeah, you don't have to bring anything. There's everything that you need already there for you to use. What's really important to remember is that you can't note down any full sentences. So you really should only write in notes and just basically little bullet points for each task and for each little topic. Because if you do have sentences in your notes, you will get points deducted and your grade is going to get lower. So really keep in mind that you can't write full sentences. Also, you can't take in your notes into the exam. So when your 30 minutes of preparation time is over, you will hand in your notes and you will then go into the exam. So that's why it is important that you don't really write down anything that you can't remember. So for example, really new vocabulary or anything like that, because you can't take your notes with you, so you can't look at them while you're doing your exam. So for task 1, you should, in my opinion, spend about 12 minutes on preparing task 1. And in those 12 minutes, you should think about your introduction at first. So think about what you would say about yourself, who you are, where you work, where do you see yourself in 5 years, what's your future plans, and so on and so forth. Then read your situation, get into your role. So read about who you are, what you do in task 1, and what your situation is, who is your audience, and what do you have to do. Then for each of the 3 bullet points, prepare some notes. So jot down some ideas that you would like to talk about for each bullet point. And then after you have done all that, you can think about what else you could say. So first, really prepare each bullet point so that you really can include all of what is expected from you in the task, and then think about what else to say. And if you've done all that, move on to preparing task 2, which you should also spend about 12 minutes on. So at first, of course, read what the small description of task 2, what you have to do or what you're going to do now, and then read your example text, which is given to you with your exam. Read the text and highlight the most important details that you think you could use in your task or in your discussion. Note down also your own ideas. So in this task, you really have to talk about your own ideas as well, not only the ones that are included in the text, so that the examination board can see that you have your own thoughts on the topic, that you know something about it. So think about those 2 things, and also think about what you could ask. So think about what kind of questions might come up, what kind of things the examination board could say, and that you could ask them, so that there's really a conversation forming. I know there's not very much you can prepare for a conversation, but still you can think about the topic, think about what kind of facts or details can come up. Then in the last about 6 minutes that are remaining of your preparation time, just read through all your notes, look at them again, breathe, just try to relax a little bit, and then it will all be a lot easier if you're not that stressed, and if you know what you're going to talk about, if you have all your bullet points in mind. And yeah, now if you have then used your preparation time effectively, you can go on to do the exam, of course. Some more tips that I would give you for your preparation time. Use colors. Of course, that depends on what kind of person you are. If you like using colors, if you like, or if it helps you to use colors for different topics, for different bullet points, or maybe different symbols for different bullet points, so that you can really relate the bullet point or the notes to the bullet point or to the topic. Read your instructions very carefully so that you really know what you have to do, who you are, what you have to say, what you don't have to say. And of course, try to remember vocabulary that you already know. It's really not that good of an idea to try to include a lot of new vocabulary in your exam that you don't know yet. So if you are looking up some new vocabulary in the dictionary and you don't really know how to use it, in what context to use it, how to put it in a sentence, that's really not a very good idea. Of course, if there's words that you have to use, like that are very, very important for the topic, then of course look them up and try to remember them. But for the most part, try to use your own vocabulary, because that's usually also the words that you are more comfortable using, and you will anyway in your exam just use the ones that you know, because in this stressful situation you won't really think about the new vocabulary. I'm telling you, that's how it is. I did that myself. And of course, just stay calm. I know that's quite hard if you're doing an important exam and you're maybe a bit nervous, but try to really focus and breathe and stay calm, and then you can do it basically. So now what we will look at is a demo exam with the topic, the impact of modern media on young people. So I will show you, 1 second. Here we have it. This is the example task, and with this task I'll show you how to take an example of how you could take notes for this specific exam task. So the task says, task 1, the impact of modern media and young people. On young people. It's a role play, of course, and the situation is you work as a youth psychiatrist and have been asked to hold a presentation in front of teachers and parents, which are the examiners, about the issue of teenagers and the media that they mainly consume. Your task is to give a brief introductory talk to your audience about the impact of modern media on young people. Talk about the importance of modern media to youth, young people's reading habits today, and the best ways to include new media in class. So today we're going to look at task 1, how to prepare notes for task 1 mainly. So what again you have to keep in mind for when you are taking notes is you have to think about your introduction, you have to read the situation, get into your role. Prepare notes for each bullet point. So really try to remember something to say for each bullet point. And also think about what else you could say. Remember that you can't use full sentences in your notes, and remember that it might help you to use colors. So now I have prepared some example notes that I have, of course, prepared on the computer, but you will not have a computer ready or not have a computer available to you. So you can really just have some different structures also to your notes. You don't have to have it like this with the points all underneath. You could do like a big cloud and then have the points going away or the ideas going away from them. It depends really on how you feel like you might remember your notes best. So what I have put down for the introduction, you should say your name, say your age, the company you work for example, a wellness hotel in Maurach in Tirol. You should talk about what your job is. For example, you are a beautician, and you do in your job you are responsible for face and body treatments, manicures and pedicures. For example, what you like about your job, you could say you like making people feel nice if you're a beautician. And in 5 years' time, for example, you could say you would like to open your own beauty salon, and that's why you need your Matura to do some more courses on that. So that really depends on what your situation is like. That's just an example here. Now, now we go over to task 1 really. So here are, and as you can see, I've used different colors and also different symbols for the bullet points that I've noted down, so that it's easier to remember that there's all different things. So that later in your exam, when you have the paper in your head or this sheet in your head, you will really remember, okay, I had these notes with this symbol for the introduction, with this other symbol for the first bullet point, and so on and so forth. I feel like with me, or for me, that would be really helpful. So for task 1, for the first bullet point, which is the importance of modern media, I have noted down that social media and modern technology are very important for young people these days. You could say that youngsters these days like to share their life, share their experience or their struggles that they're having at the moment, share pictures, just basically share a lot of their life. They like to communicate with friends through social media and through modern media in general. And they like to use modern media for entertainment. For example, watching videos or watching other people's posts on social media. What you can then say about the second bullet point is that, so the second bullet point is about reading habits of young people today. You could say that reading is not very popular nowadays with young people. You could say that they might think it's a bit boring and that they prefer videos and TV because it's easier to watch. You don't have to read anything, it's just there for you basically. You can be a bit more lazy. You could also say that you feel quite sad about the fact that reading is not very popular nowadays because you feel like reading has a lot of benefits, for example, extra education that you get through reading, and that you have to really have a lot of creativity because you have to imagine your own film basically while you are reading. So that's, for example, what you could say about the reading habits here. And the last bullet point in this task was to include new media in class. And yeah, here you could say that, for example, you could show content on the internet. So you could, for example, show educational videos in class, show some videos or some images about the topic on the internet. You could use interactive apps in class. For example, there's an app, I can't remember what it's called, where you can play vocabulary games and also play against each other, compete against each other, which makes vocabulary learning quite fun, and you could do that in class as well. You could play, some kind of educational games. I think there's also some math apps or some math games that you can download, which would make the lesson a lot more interesting for young people or for the students, young students. And you could try to link the subject material to modern media. So if there's any link that any link from your material that you're talking about to modern media, to social media, some kind of memes or something, you could, for example, link that and show that in class to make the students a bit more interested in your topic. And then, so now you have made notes about all the 3 bullet points that you have to include. Now you can think about what else could I possibly say, just to maybe fill some more time, depends on how much you've been talking. You could say that in class you think or teachers should try to read books that have interesting modern topics, that are more interesting to young people, have topics that young people can relate to, so that reading gets more popular again. You could say that you should watch videos in class about the current book, for example, about the characters, about situation, the content, and so on and so forth. So that's what else you could say, but that's really what you can think about after you have worked on the 3 bullet points. So like that is an example of how your notes could look like. Of course, as I said, here it is on the computer, but you could do something like that on your sheet of paper as well. Also, maybe try to write in a nice way so that you can read it as well. Because if you have your notes and then you read through them again and you can't read them anymore, that's not really going to help you. That's basically it. Remember, no full sentences. Think about the bullet points, think about your introduction, and then you should really be able to use your preparation time very nicely in a very good way so that you can master your task, your exam, very easily. Now I hope you have enjoyed this stream and you have maybe now got some new information that you think will be quite useful for your exam. We will then see you again next Tuesday. And next Tuesday you will see me and my colleague doing this whole example exam, so task 1 and task 2, so the whole exam. And then we will also show you another example exam, that's quite a hard word to say, which will also be about media, but it will more be about news reporting and modern media. So tune in next time. We hope we will see you again. Until then, bye bye.